Good evening. Have you ever stolen from anyone? Have you ever been homeless? September 20th, 2004 was a very significant day for one girl. It's the day that she went from a just out of high school college student with a job to someone who quit her job, doesn't go to school anymore, and stole from a lot of people that she loved. In the next few minutes, I will explain to you how being addicted to marijuana can affect someone like this and how that person was actually me. Understanding how this drug can affect people is very important, considering the fact that a lot of people really don't think that marijuana addiction is a big deal. First, I will explain to you what marijuana is and where it comes from. Then I will talk about the effects of it on the human body, and then I will talk about some of the negatives effects of it and how it can lead to bad behaviors. So first of all, let's talk about what marijuana actually is. It is a dried leaf of the cannabis sativa plant. According to Blazak and Box, it originated thousands of years ago in Asia, where they used it for medicinal and spiritual purposes. There's a lot of different names for it: pot, grass, Mary Jane, to name a few. There's over 200. It can be smoked and it can also be eaten in things like brownies and cookies. And the chemical in marijuana is called THC, and that is actually where the marijuana gets its psychoactive effects from. According to Business Insider, it is actually legal in 33 states now, 22 of them medically and 11 of them recreationally. And I have a little spectrum here where you can see right in the beginning here is the abstinence part of the spectrum, and that is where you are if you do not smoke at all. Now, let's talk about, now that I explained to you what marijuana is and where it is legal, let's talk about some of the effects that it can have on your body. Euphoria is one effect that people usually have when they first start smoking marijuana. However, those effects can diminish over time because your tolerance goes up. Binge eating is another one. You don't really feel like you're ingesting anything when you eat on it, so you just keep kind of eating. It's kind of like a bottomless pit, and it feels so good eating and it tastes good that you just kind of keep on going. That's one of the effects. According to Carrier, it can also be used for like medicinal purposes, like for inflammation in your fingers called arthritis, or if you have cancer and you're going through chemotherapy treatment, it is also really good for curing nausea. Me, for a fact, I know it did it with me when I would get really sick, when I would drink too much. The minute I'd smoke, it would go away. So I know for a fact that it definitely works for those cases. Some of the effects can be dangerous. When I first started, it actually shut down a lot of my senses. I remember seeing a very small portion of the floor in front of me, and I actually turned and walked straight across the street when it was time to go home. It didn't look both ways. All I can hear was a bunch of car honking and my friends yelling at me in the background, but I had really no idea what was going on. So that is another effect that it can have on you. And it could lead to short-term memory problems, which I still have to this day, even though I haven't smoked for over 10 years. It could lead to antisocial disorder and make your anxiety worse. According to cannabis-induced anxiety disorder at Altamira Recovery, a lot of people who smoke it think that that it will make it go away, but when the high comes down, it's actually still there, or it even gets worse. In my case, I had a lot of heart palpitations and out of breathness that would occur, and anxiety. And then the minute I would go home and be out of everyone's eye shot, I would be completely fine. And the heart palpitations and shortness of breath is something I also still have to deal with to this day. It can also lead to a marijuana addiction. According to the CDC, 1 in 10 marijuana users will become addicted to it. And here we can see the non-problematic, or the beneficial would probably be where the people who have cancer using it are. The non-problematic is where a lot of people are the recreational users. And now we're kind of getting into the potentially harmful and problematic side of things. Now that I have discussed what the effects of it are on the human body, we can talk a little bit about how it can lead to an addiction and some of the bad behaviors that I experienced. Euphoria that you get from it does diminish over time, so you have to buy more or higher quality marijuana, which can lead to spending a lot more money. Now, if you are in that problematic category, you probably have quit your job or you don't have a job and you just don't have the money to buy it, so that can lead to stealing, and stealing can lead to jail time. Very bad thing. I have never been to jail. I never got caught. I never stole from anybody but family. I know that sounds horrible, but I fortunately have never been to jail or experienced that. While under a marijuana addiction, if you, according to the CDC, how do I know if I'm addicted to marijuana? If you give up important things with family members or friends, or you try to stop and you just can't, that's one way to tell that you are in the substance use disorder category over here, which is where I was at the very end of the spectrum. I went on a camping trip one time with my family and I couldn't smoke, so I got very high anxiety. I took a pill that I shouldn't have. It was too high of a dose and time release, so I started throwing up every 2 hours and I had to be driven home early. I was very disappointed in myself. However, I did smoke immediately when I got home. The nausea went away and I just kept on doing what I was doing. That's part of the problem with addiction. So tonight I've made you think about what marijuana is and where it comes from. I told you a little bit about the good and bad effects of it and how it can lead to a marijuana addiction and some really bad behaviors. Marijuana use is a dangerous game, especially if you are only using it recreationally. I know it seems like it could be fun and you have a good time on it, but it really only takes one bad thing to happen when you're on it, for something horrible to happen, and it's really not a good idea unless you're using it medically. So thank you very much.